All right, thank you for the questions. I'm sending you this audio to answer them, so please listen attentively. So your questions are: one, you want to know why the Pope has to take a new name when he is elected, and then two, if he could keep his own name and not use the name, a new name. Okay, so I'll start with the name and then go to the second part. Okay, so names in the Catholic Church, or names in the liturgy, or names at worship. Okay, in the worship or at liturgy or at mass or in the Christian life, our names are the names given to us. We call the first name. Some use the name, your English name or your Christian name or first name. Okay, so that is your name. Your surname is not your name. It's a name given to you so we can know where you belong to, which family you come from. So technically, if they say, what is your name? You mention just your first name. Then they ask you, wait, what is your surname? Then you can now add your father's name or mother's name, what was given to you. So your name is your name minus is your surname. Okay, so I'm Anthony. So my name is Anthony. My surname is not my name. It's the name of my family or the name for my family, that has been given to me. So that is why in the liturgy, when we stand before God, we don't go and add our surnames because God knows you as you are. Your family doesn't count. So your surname is so important when we stand before God. It's who you are, your name. And that is why, again, when somebody dies and you're having a mass for him or her, and we are mentioning the name at the mass, we don't add the surname. It's just Anthony. We don't add the surname because before God, your surname, God doesn't need to know which Anthony are we praying for and which family does this Anthony comes from. God doesn't need that. So for him, he knows you by your name, your first name, or what's your English name or your Christian name. But the word is first name, okay? So with that, I think I've answered the second part of your question about name. So your question was that could he, as a pope, keep the name is called Robert Prevost as okay? I want to call Pope Robert Prevost. No, even if he wants to keep it, he can add a Prevost. But that Prevost is his surname. It's not his name, that his family name or his parents' name, whatever name that was given to him. So if he wants to keep it, he could only use the name Robert, which is the first name. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to the second part of your question. Yes, when Pope started, or say when Pope started, that's funny. Say when Pope started taking names, you're allowed to use their own names. So whoever your first name in this way, because I've answered the question about naming, now you can understand. You're allowed to keep their first names. I mean their own names. So the popes will use their names. They use their names. But got to a time in history that they, out of respect, and also a pope comes and wants to love a pope who has been there before. So wants to kind of walk in the footsteps of the pope who was before him. So now the new popes that were coming were choosing names of popes who had come before them. They say, after all, I'm not the first pope in the world, so I want to be a pope, but in this person's style. So they started taking the names of popes who had come before them. So that's how come popes were now taking names of popes who were before them. Okay. So the summary is that in the beginning, when someone became a pope, the person could use his own name, but not surname. I'm making this surname thing for you to understand because in Christian life, we don't add surnames. Surnames are not my name. It's not your name. So they didn't use their surname, but their first name. That was the name that was given to them when they were baptized. Okay. All right. So, but at a point in time, they decided not to use their own names, but to show that I want to continue the legacy or the style of the Pope before me. And also out of respect, to show that, look, I'm not the first Pope in the whole world, so I don't have to come and use my own name as if I'm the first. I have to do things my own way. No, I'm doing things as a Pope in the name of all those popes who have been before me. So they start using names of previous popes. So that's how come now until today, popes take names of people who were before them, But then they are allowed to use names new if they want to. Obviously, now we know the last pope before this Pope Leo was Francis. Nobody had used the name Francis for 2,000 years. all the 2,000 years of the Catholic Church, nobody has used the name Francis. He was the first to use that name. So see, he didn't go with the name of a pope that was before him. He wanted a new name, so he chose his own name, Francis. So with that, with Pope Francis, it's clear that a pope can take his own name. If he wants to use his own name, his own name, if I should use that way, the one he's called by, fine, it's up to him. Nobody can stop him. Okay. But then, like this new Pope, if he wanted to use his own name, he can't say, I'm Pope Robert, as I say, Prevost, but Pope Robert. And that'll be correct. He's a Pope. He wants that name, fine. But then, out of respect, as I mentioned, and also to show the kind of pope you want to be, people choose names of popes who had used that name before them, like Pope Leo has told us. He want to follow in the footsteps of the Pope Leo before him, Pope Leo the 13th. He is now 14th. Francis, Pope Francis didn't choose any name before him because he said he want to be a Pope of the poor. So he actually used that name Francis after Saint Francis of Assisi. So see why he chose the name Francis. Though Francis of Assisi was not a pope, but the style of Assisi, Francis of Assisi, Pope Francis wanted that to be his own style as a pope. So he went for that name. Okay. So that's how come names are being chosen. Sometimes you can keep your own name, or you can choose a name that no one has used before, like Pope Francis did. Okay. But then, till today, for many years now, no pope has used his own name. When I say own, mean his personal name. I think for the last 1,000 years or so, they use names that are not their own personal names, but the names of popes before them, or like Francis, a name that is not his own name, as his papal name. They call it, papal name. But all these names are spiritual and biblical. When God calls you, he changes your name to show the identity, the task to which he's calling you. So you go back in the Bible, the first person you come across is Abraham. When God gave him a new mission, work to do, like God is telling him his destiny, what he's supposed to be. He was called, we are told he was called Abram, and then God gave the name Abraham, from Abram to Abraham. So God changed the name to show that he's giving him a new task, a new mission, a new identity, a new job. So changing of names is spiritual and also biblical. God does that. If you come to the Bible, New Testament, we have Saul becoming Paul. Then you have Peter, who was called Simon. Some say Simon, they are correct. He was called Simon, but when he met Jesus, he became Peter. So changing of names is also spiritual. If you change your name, you are telling people that, look, you are no more your old self. And the old self that you were before that day, you have changed. You have changed. You are no longer the old self. Because as you say, when you are in Christ, you're a new creation. Paul tells us, we are new creations. That is why even at baptism, if when we are getting baptized, you are supposed to choose names. Thank God, most of us are already coming from Christian background, so our names that are given to us by our parents are already Christian names, like mine, Anthony. So if I'm going to get baptized, I'm supposed to have a new name, because after baptism, you are no longer the same. You are changed. Your destiny changes. Your inheritance changes. Become a son of God. You are now a royal. Children of God, we are royals. So when we get baptized, we also change our names. But as I've said, because our names are usually already Christian, like mine, Anthony, I'm getting baptized. There's no need to go for another one. So we keep it. And some actually add more. So maybe they add another name or another Christian name to their own names to show that, okay, I'm Anthony, but let me add Agnes to it to show that I'm not the old Anthony, but this Anthony who is now Anthony Agnes. So he has a new identity, a new focus. He's not a new creation. He's not a new creation. So that's how names are also changed. It's also a matter of spiritual and biblical from the Bible. That when God gives a new task, God gives a new job, God gives you a new position, he changes your name. As I've said, Abraham to Abraham, Saul to Paul, Simon to Peter. So that's why the post also spiritual reasons why is that they choose names also because to show that they have changed. Cardinal Robert Prevost is no longer here. Now we have Pope Leo. So his past is not. He's a new person. He started a new life. He's no longer Cardinal Robert Prevost. No. God has chosen him. God has, like Peter, God has chosen him. God has changed his name. So now he has a new name. That's why he changed his name and used, now he's using Pope Leo. Like Peter, the first Pope, whose name was changed. Now this Pope, who has taken over from Peter, he also has to change his name. So again, it's come back to spiritual and biblical, The first Peter, the first Pope, I should say, changed his name when he was chosen. He said, "You are Peter, Simon, son of John. I call you now Peter." So Jesus changed the name. Since then, also, this is a spiritual reason. Popes, when they come, they change their names, just like the first Pope, whose name was changed. Okay, so I think this should answer all your questions. It's very long, but I think at the end of it all, you might have learned something or why names are changed when people become popes and why they take new names and whether it's possible to keep an old name. All right, so listen to this carefully, and then if there are some other doubts, you could let me know. You could let me know, and then I'll give you the appropriate response. Thanks so much for your question once again, and please pray for me. God bless you.